Hey peoples! So, you might all be wondering, what the fuck are you making a video about now? So, this one's regarding guinea pigs and what I think the best ground for them is. So my guinea pigs are in a huge, like 5x5 meter humongous thing, and they all have their little areas because Spikey's sleeping at the moment, as you can see. He's having a snooze. And they're about to get some new beds which look like this because the wind and rain has been a challenge this last season, and now it's summertime and I wanted to get them. These sort of do quite well in some of these types of beds, you know, things with lots of airflow and big open areas like for them and things. These get quite hot, but they'll be in the shade, so they should be alright. But it's more or less for next winter, so I don't have to change their blankets as much, because this year, this last season of winter, I have been changing their blankets. Oh look, he's twitching! You're not twitching anymore, Spiky. He was totally twitching. Yeah, last winter, I had to change their blankets quite vigorously, you know, every day almost. Usually, you know, through summer and things like that, I haven't had to do that, especially not with my boys. These two only arrived, Elliot and Spikey, this year in April. That's Spikey. Elliot's in this one, and he is a little black and white one, and he likes to hide away. They're quite tame, you know, they know some tricks and things like that, but they're still a little, you know, they still like their space and their privacy. Spicy Girls is the same. That's my girl, so she's in there, and I think she's pregnant at this time. I think she's pregnant from this one, from my big boy Wingnut, who was the first guinea pig I have. He's nearly 2. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, he's like 2 and a bit. Actually, no, hang on. He is a year and like 8 months, give or take. Sorry. But yeah, so I found the best little tips and tricks having these for, because they're outside animals. Wingnut was an inside animal at first, and I used to have soil in his like compost soil in his big tray when I first had him when he was a baby. That's when I did all my training with him, and he's pretty good, but he still doesn't come to me when I do want him. He's quite arrogant, he's a bit cheeky, but then sometimes he'll come to me when I don't ever want him to come to me, so he's cheeky. The other 3 are, you know, they're learning things slowly, and they're really smart animals, eh? They're fucking cool. But I'm about to move Spice's cage over into the grass area once it comes up a bit more, and change her around for this summer, and I will be putting some more sand in here as well. So, getting back to my point, sand is now my new best friend. So, I live near the beach, like, I'm like a K or so away from the beach, I don't know, fucking, yeah, and, give or take, and I used to have compost in here, and I'd change their compost out every couple of weeks, and I'd just put it out into my garden, and, you know, they were quite happy, as per se. They wouldn't sneeze and stuff heaps, and like not consistently, like they did sneeze a little bit, and like it was quite a strong smell, the compost, you know, genuinely, even outside here, you know, I used to wet it and things like that just to kind of help it, with dust and things like this. But anyway, I got sick of replacing it because it was costing me a fortune, and then my gardens were completely full with mulch and their poos and all their scrap food, and you know, and I didn't really need to do that anymore as per se, but I did need it for my gardens, genuinely, so it kind of worked out well. But I think dirt soil isn't the best idea unless you're going to kind of do that, like use it in the future for things, like your garden and things like that, and you make a plan. But I actually think the best thing for them, inside or outside, is sand, because ever since I changed their thing to sand, like, yeah, their bedding gets a bit sandy, but I just dust it off, you know, brush it out, fucking flip it around in the wind before I take them to be cleaned. And, you know, my new best friend is actually these 3 items. So a dustpan, a sieve, and a couple buckets. A bucket, aka my third best friend. So when I come in to do complete cleans, you know, they get their hay and things like this. That's what's on the ground here. So their hay and their poop, either from in their bedroom or in their beds or in their or just out here and outside, which I have taught them poo outside. They actually know those commands, but they're still a little bit funny with them. Aren't you, Spiker's awake? No, Spiky, he's awake, but he's just, there he goes, he's moving. But anyway, so, you know, they make a mess. They can make a mess, like, shit everywhere. But this was actually the best idea I ever found, was sand. I'm going to put a few more layers in because I only went a little bit, about 7 buckets worth, 7 of those, did this whole area, and it's quite a lot, to be quite honest. Like, it was quite a bit. But anyway, so this was my cleaning. This has been my cleaning routine every week, if not every couple of days, depending on how much I've fed them hay and how much of a mess it's making. But I usually empty a bucket about this size out of their poop and the hay and scrap foods and things like that a week. I think they're slowly learning to leave their food in the bowls and eat over the bowls, because when they take it out over to here, they're getting sand in their poor little mouths, and they probably don't like it, although they are very, you know, wild animals naturally, with their instincts speaking, you know, sort of, hello, darling. Oh, look who's come to say hi. Hi, baby. But they still bring their food out. See, there's a cucumber there that's on the ground. They still bring their food outside. But yeah, anyway, so what I do is I just go through and I spend the morning or that day, hey boom booms, hello, cleaning their cages. So that'll be a bit easier now that I'm going to change them to this one, because these just unclip and the roof comes off and you can just throw everything out onto the ground, pull all their blankets out, take all the plastic out and give it a hot wash, you know, if it's that bad. It probably pays to hot wash them anyway. Hello, fat boy. What you doing? Hi. Good boy. But it's actually going to be 10 times easier with these two, because they make a big mess, them two. They're fucking just hilarious. But with their new cages. So they're meant to come this week. I bought this one as a tester to see if Boom Booms would even go in and out of the door, because it's actually quite high off the ground. I didn't think about this when I first got it. I was just like, that is going to be cool. Hey, baby, that's going to be a cool bed. We'll keep them dry. And are you popcorning? Is it popcorn? Popcorn. Yeah, and it'll keep them dry and things like this, and they're well off the ground, and, you know, I don't have to lay as many blankets. I used to have just these things underneath and some wood square sort of surrounding them with a roof, and they'd get cold, I think. So I used to put lots of blankets on these little concrete things. So I don't think that's happening anymore. So it's quite high off the ground and keeping them warm. So with my cleaning routine for these 4 and possibly maybe 10, 12 when the next lot come out, hey boom booms, it's really going to be much easier. I found it 10 times easier to clean Wingnut's cage than how I used to have to hot wash his cage, the floor, taking all his blankets out, and, you know, having to lift his old roof off and things. Now I can just lift that straight off, pull all his blankets out, and wash everything if need be. You know, he's actually been pretty good since this has been in here. I've only had to get rid of poop, which is usually, you know, it's actually been pretty clean, which is quite cool. I can't wait to see it in a couple by Saturday, sort of, maybe, to see what it looks like then. But anyway, so I usually put everything out onto the ground. I either, you know, I'll do all their cages first and empty everything out and get everything out to be hot washed, and then I literally come through, scoop everything up. I usually have a little brush, and I just place it into a sieve like so, and this is what I do. I just, you know, shake it about. The smaller the quantity of sand in there obviously is the best, because then you're not having to have a heavy little load in your hand and you can get through it a bit quick. So I usually get rid of all of this sort of stuff out of their cages every couple of days, or maybe every week, depending how much I've fed them hay and things like this, or if I've been picking shit out of the trees or something. I don't know. The birds, they bring a lot of shit in. And they also break a lot of, you know, tree things onto the ground and things like this. But the sand works perfect to pick up their poo. So I don't know if there's any poop lying around. There's a little piece right there. There's a little piece poo. But this has worked perfectly. I have like, it was so much easier to clean his cage, the boy's cage out, the ground. It came out brilliantly. You know, tip it straight into a bucket. I mean, it takes a little bit, of course it does, but it's actually fucking half the time it used to take me to do it the old way, which was digging out, you know, yay deep soil and replacing it and things like that. And it was quite costly, like at least $20 a month to maybe $20 every 2 months, depending how much they're pooping and weeing and making a mess. But sand is the fucking, oh, excuse my French, is the best fucking thing in the planet. Okay, like, it is working brilliantly. I know it's ironically funny that, you know, scooping up their hay, or scooping it and slipping it, it's hilarious. Wingnut goes crazy when I do this. He's like, what are you doing? Hey, babies, what you doing? What's that? Not for you, is it? It's in the boom-booms. Yeah, you want to play with that? No? Okay. Whatever then. Good boy. So that's Wingnut. Anyway, he's my big boy. He's my baby. So this was the idea, okay, and I haven't had to replace the sand as per se because I've been sieving it. The sand goes back here and all of the solids that are not big enough to fit through those little holes or through a sieve hole, obviously goes into the bucket, and I use that and I just go put that straight out into the gardens, you know, as fertilizers, as whatever the hell else I can use it for. And I'll come through and wet this, if not the rain wets it, you know, and cleans it. It's pretty clean. Like, it doesn't smell too bad in here. I can smell their blankets, of course. I can smell their fur and their scents on their blankets. Of course I can, but it's not like a pungent, disgusting smell that, you know, is worrying. They're not matted with poop underneath their coats and things like this. You know, they have regular baths and they always clean themselves, and they're happy-go-lucky babies, aren't you, darlings? They get fed 3 times a day. I have an actual routine for them, so I have usually fruit and banana. You know, today I've given them a random selection of fruit and quite a bit of it because I was out of bananas and you know, normal non-frozen apples and things like that that I usually pick up from the store that are like damaged products and things like this. But this was actually out of my smoothie mix, which was frozen, so I had to defrost it this morning because I haven't been to town and I live like 50 k's away from the nearest, you know, grocery store. So it's quite a while, isn't it, my darling baby? It's quite a trek. So today I just gave them some frozen fruit, veggies. There's apples, oranges, lemons, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, cucumber. I gave them, you know, a whole lot of shit, but whenever I give them that, you know, frozen mix, I always end up with ants, especially in Spicy's cage. And I usually hot wash their bowls morning and night, and then they'll get grass and hay during the day. I try to keep them on a really good diet because they don't have a million, you know, acres to run in like they kind of would in the forest or in the wild if they were in that time where they have to run away from things and they're running at very high speeds, and, you know, they're gaining a bit more energy and things like that. They're a little bit lazy around here, but they still have a huge area to go for walkies. And you know, I'll let Spicy out so Wingnut and her can have a good run around because they seem to chase each other, or he chases her more or less. And it gives her some running exercise, and yeah, they're usually pretty good. Underneath here, it used to be all open, but I've blocked it off because I grew some grass in there for them so then I could let them graze, and therefore some grass. Hey baby. And it's still coming up as we speak, still growing. So, you know, I change their water daily. I boil their water at at night, and I, put it into their bottles, and I have those, thingy bottles. I've got like 8 of them. So there's always 4 in the freezer, and then there's always 4, 1 on each cage, or 1 in each cage. Spikey's got his there. Haven't you, Spikey's Zoid? See, he's up now. No, he's sleeping again. 1 there. They know where they are, and I trained them water, which is one of their commands. But so if you've got guinea pigs and you're struggling with their flooring, whether you're using fabrics or something that is catching all of their doo-doos and their wee-wees, and if not dirt and things like this, sand is the best option. I swear to God, you'll thank me later. You don't have to get rid of the sand. You really don't. Like, I'm not getting rid of it. I just wash it or throw some lemon juice in a spray bottle, or if not, you don't have to do that. Like, it's pretty, by the time they've weed here, they're going to weed all the way over there, and the sun's going to hit that at fucking 40 degrees, and it's going to clean it, if not sanitize it. I can't be completely sure, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that, they'll be fine. But it's a great way to clean the ground that they're running in. Their poos aren't everywhere, Like, I haven't done this for a couple days, and like, there's not many poos lying around, Like, that there is, I think that's a poo. But anyway, I've got some bark and things that are lying around and things like that. That's all bark. But hey, but yeah. So anyway, that is the best trick I can inform you when I've had these 4 boys over winter and over summer, having them running around, pooing, peeing everywhere. My little grass idea is not really coming up the best. So back there is a pond, and then around that pond is like a big, like, I don't know, 4 by 4 feet by like 6 feet wide, 4 feet wide in some places. Big area. So if this was the pond, there's like a big area behind it, and then it's Spicy's cage here and the big area behind it. And I was growing some grass in there to kind of like graze them onto, and to help the soil back there with where they've pooped and weed that I couldn't get to. And I've put silver beet plants up in the back there. I've spread hundreds of seeds in there, just hundreds, and I don't know what the fuck has even really come up, because it doesn't get a hell of a lot of light, because I know that, I know that's because the tree that is growing here is humongous, and it is like, it's a big tree. But it gives them plenty of shade. Plenty of shade. These boys would when it's summertime. But anyway, so this is my trick, and I really recommend getting some sand, whether you have to travel 50 k's to the beach to go and pick up some sand for your guinea pigs, wherever you are on the planet. I really recommend this, because you can get some lemon juice if your babies are inside, and you can spray their soil up. And you can really spray it up, you can, it's not going to hurt them, they might get a little tingle in their nose, like, what the fuck is that smell? But what you could do is you could, I don't know, say if they're ready for a bath, do it in the same day. Go throw them in your big bath at home and let them splash around for about an hour or something, fuck, I don't know, half an hour, and clean out their cage with a sieve, like so. And then you could even spray the sand as you're sieving it, and lemon juice. Lemon has some really strong properties. Okay, like if you go Google it, like fucking that shit's killed like HIV and shit in test labs and stuff, and you only need to have like 10% solution. Like I usually use 100% solution. I'll just spray the fucking the real deal on it. So you never know what it's going to kill. I think that it will kill a lot of things. You can even mix it with vinegar. I've sprayed lemon and vinegar around my boys, and they didn't mind. Hasn't killed them. And they were 100% solutions with maybe, at times where I use a little bit of water if I was kind of running low. But, yeah, no, it's perfect. Can't hurt them. It's great. and it kind of takes away odors and things as well if you've got pigs inside. They're usually pretty good, guinea pigs. They don't usually smell too bad, like, to be quite honest. As long as you're looking after them and keeping their cages clean frequently, daily, you know, either getting rid of the poop out of their beds and or, you know, making sure that nothing's sticking around like food and things, scraps, cleaning shit like that out daily, you should be fine. They shouldn't stink and pose and wheeze, and changing like their floor ground if you're using fabrics and stuff inside daily. I highly recommend that. But if they're outside like my boys and they're either on grass and you just move them around the lawn, or you have them in an enclosure like me, I have them in a, you know, like I said, a 5 by 5 meter enclosure. It's fucking humongous, and yeah, and I really am really glad that I went down to the beach and picked up some sand, because I've never ever had such an easier time cleaning my darlings' cages. It's been wicked. Like, some of this stuff isn't even poo. Like, there's one little piece of poo there. It's all just tree shit, like pieces of wood and stuff that either the birds have brought in or something or other. Hey, Boom Booms. So, yeah, it's a really good tip and trick for Boom Boomsies. And I really, come here, Big Nut. Come here. He's got something stuck on his fur. Come here. It's only something like, I don't know. It's only something a little bit. Yeah, for my Boom Booms who's like completely tamed and like totally like used to sleep with me and shit, and you know, I taught him heaps of commands. No, good boy, bed, water, food, you know, check. He can check for things, you know, like I give him a smell, he'll go find it. But then, now that we've moved here and he's outside, he's been very arrogant towards me. I think he's a little bit mad. He doesn't get to tattle up with me as much. And I go to pet him and he goes, I'm running away! Don't you? He's real funny. You fucking arrogant little shit, aren't you, Boom Booms? But anyway, he's good though. I think I understand what he's up to, and at the moment he's trying to get a hold of Spicy. He's saying, Spicy, come out, I want to make love to you, or whatever the fuck he's saying, but he's definitely trying to get her attention. So he sometimes sits like right there for ages. You know, I read this thing about when guinea pigs have girlfriends, their mates, or when they're pregnant, they actually stand near them all the time. Like, they're always around them. Like, it's like he's by her bedside, you know. He's babies. He's so funny. But he might also just be calling her for mating, because that's another thing that they'll be up to. Hey, Boom Booms. Yeah. Good boy, go play. So, this is a really cool idea. I swear to God, honestly, I'm sure this will help a lot of people out there, because this helped me so much, because I was working at the time, like, well, for example, working full time and having 4 guinea pigs to run around after when you start work at 4 o'clock in the morning, or you have to leave your house at 4 because you start at 6 and you got an hour's drive to get into town, and you still gotta have breakfast and get up and fucking wake up and stuff, and you're not home till, say I finished work usually those days at 6 o'clock at night, and I'd be home at 7, 8, depending if I had to pick up things in town. Maybe I'd be home at 9, and then I'd have to come in here and feed them. Well, you know, I'd have to come in home, get dinner on, feed them, and I literally live on like a huge motherfucking paddock, like full glamping, you know. It's a saving technique anyway. It's not the easiest of life, you know. Well, actually, that's a lie. It is. There's nothing fucking wrong with it. This is probably the easiest life I could ever ask for. It's probably the most I could ever ask for if I had to ask for shit. But yeah, I do my dishes and things like this outside on a, outside kitchenette, and I shower outside. It's like I've got an outdoor shower, and I live in like a big camper thing. I mean, like a big cabin thingy. I was going to buy a camper because I first started on this property tenting. I had a tent like a year and a half ago. and it was fucking really hot because it was in summertime. I was like dying. But yeah, and it was just a way for me to save money for, you know, certain things like my cars, make sure that my cars all had new parts, and or if they needed something and things like that, or if I needed new stuff for my side business, you know, just things like that. Buying new appliances for my place, because, you know, when I moved here I literally just had the shit that was in my car because I was staying in my car for a while. But, you know, this is, having sand in here is like a huge help. Like, it's really cool. It's real good. Great way to save money on washing blankets, because the other reason why I got sand was because I was washing blankets like crazy, because they're, I don't know if it was just themselves, but, you know, they would drag the shit into their rooms. It was way more messier just having dirt and, you know, whatnot. Having sand is just like, oh, it's so much better. And just to sieve it out, it's as simple as that, you know. It's not fucking rocket science, you know, and even if it was, that's probably not even that hard, depending how hard we make things for ourselves. But it's really easy, you know, it's so simple, and I highly recommend it. They'll soon enough learn about eating on the sand. They'll either take it straight to their bed, because they'll learn the hard way by putting it onto the ground and getting sand in their mouths, because I have my boys who usually prefer, well, especially Elliot takes his to his bed, Spikey eats his over his bowl, and Wingnut, he kind of takes his to his bed and eats it over his bowl whenever he fucking feels like it. Because they've obviously learnt the lesson about putting their lovely fresh fruit that gets sand all over it, and in the wild they wouldn't give a fuck about that. They'd just probably eat it anyway. Or whatever dirt and things that they would pick up along the way. So yes, that's a bit of a pain, but you could teach them, or if not, you know, feed them in their beds, away from the sand. I don't know if it's going to be the best idea for some people, because I know you will probably think, oh, but then it's going to get all through their blankets, I have to wash their blankets more, or it's going to ruin my washing machine and things like this. Well, I do see what you're trying to say, like, that makes such a good point, but I just, you know, shake out their bedding, and I actually hang it for a couple of days before. That's why I've got so many blankets for them. So then each blanket gets a couple days out in the wind, and it gets a good few days in the rain or in the sunshine, and then I'll take it out when I'm, you know, gonna do all my washing, and I'll take it into the city, and I'll go and I'll shake it out for fucking Africa beforehand, obviously. And it's actually been fine since I've done that. I haven't had any problems. It usually comes out of this quite fine. Like, these have been in their beds and there's no sand in them. I can't feel any sand in them, you know, so I think it's all right. Hey, boom booms, hello baby. But yeah, so I know this is a bit of a long video and I kind of been waffling, but you know, that's what happens when you've got information. But so I don't really have very many more tips and tricks. Like I said, I boil my water for them and freeze it the night before, and I change their water daily in their bottles. And the reason I boil it and freeze it is because, like I said, I live on a huge section and I have only rainwater to collect, and or my bore water, which is quite iron sandy because I live so close to the beach, and that's for the tank for washing dishes and having a shower. And yes, that does turn my stainless steel boilers to like a rusty looking colour, but you can clean it and things like this, and it doesn't really do too much damage once it's in the tank, because it all settles in the tank and you can suck that out at some stage when it gets terrible. Type of an example, so I do boil my water anyway because it does come off the roofs and it does sit, you know, overnight or whatever, however long before it gets into my containers that I put it into with my taps to maple bums to drink out of and things like that. So I always boil it beforehand, and I always put, you know, them in the freezer to for them to have nice ice cold water. I also found that if I freeze it and I go to work at 4 a.m. and I put their waters in there, they're usually still asleep. Well, they're not really in the mood to drink water because they've probably, they've probably drunk it. They've probably drunk it overnight. No, darling. No. He's trying to eat some leaves that I sprayed the other day. Yeah. But yeah, so if I, have work and things like this, and I want their water to be nice and cold all morning, or at least till lunchtime where they can drink most of it, because it might, be really, really fucking hot out here, and I'm like 50 k's away, maybe 180 k's away at work. I travel a lot with work. I know that they're going to have ice cold water pretty much all day, unless it's so hot that it's melting it to the point of, really quick. Like, I think their waters will, last quite a long time frozen, and they'll have ice cold water all day. So that's another really, really good tip and trick if you're going to work and you want to make sure that their water's clean and cold, is to actually use those bottles, because I used to use bowls and they would get so fucking dirty. By the time I got home, I'd have to change them anyway, because they had so much shit in them, all this debris and stuff. So these bottles are really, really, really cool, because nothing can get inside them. Nothing can get inside them, and they're great freezable. You can put boiling water into them, let them sit for a bit to help clean them, and then, freeze them or whatnot. And they've been fine for me. I've done this every day for months and months, and they've lasted quite a long time. Pardon me. And yeah, so that is pretty much my routine. I give them little feed in the morning of fruit and veg. Of fruit, sorry, not of veg, of fruit, and anything that they can have in the morning. A cucumber, apples, bananas. I give them a good little wad of that to get through the morning, and then I'll feed them some grass and hay at lunchtime. Maybe a treat if it's hot. I'll put some frozen fruit in like that. And then at night time they get a couple slices, a good little slice of carrot and a whole lot of leafy greens from my garden every day. And then after dark, when all the birdies go away, because this is another problem I had having outside guinea pigs, I will feed them their pellets at about 9 o'clock at night, so then it gets them through the night and they're not having pellets all day and all night, and it's bad for their diet and things like this. And the other thing too is that when I was feeding them pellets in the mornings, I would have about 20 to 30 birds in here going crazy, annoying the shit out of them and stealing all their food. And since I stopped doing that, I have saved money with their pellets, because I used to have to buy almost every week a $20 bag to every 2 weeks. Pretty much every 2 weeks I'd be buying another bag, and it should be like every month to maybe every 2 months depending, and it was just getting like diabolical, and I was like, why am I spending so much money here? I know, because all these fucking birds. So I know that this is all netted off and stuff like this, but the birds still get in. Like, it's completely netted the whole way round, but they just sneak in, or especially the baby birds. So that's another reason why I feed them fruit in the mornings, enough to get them through the morning, and they're not squealing and dying. So I think I'm feeding them enough. A good bunch of grass and hay at lunchtime, and then if I'm at work, I'll obviously put the hay and the grass in at the same time in the morning, and it'll last them all day. They'll just nibble away when they're hungry, and then at night time I give them their wee carrot and leafy greens, and then I give them pellets from about 9 o'clock at night onwards, when the birds seem to not be around as much. At the moment it's like still light at that time here, so they kind of are still awake, but they don't seem to come in as much. I haven't noticed them in here. You can't hear them in here like I used to. If I fed them in the mornings, you'd hear the birds going fucking AWOL in here in the morning. So I can't hear them at night time when I've fed them after 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I think that's working. So yeah, that's another another one from me for that, on that note. But yeah, so I don't know if that's going to be of any of help to any of you. But, oh, look, see a birdie just come in. He just popped his little body in straight through one of those holes in the roof. And he's not a little bird, you know, that's fucking nearly the size of my hand, the little cunt. You little birdie. Hi, birdie, birdie, birdie. You know, birdie, birdie. They're probably really mad at me now because they can't get their little cheeky fix anymore because I don't feed them anymore, so I don't have any more birds in here as much. And I think it's really nice too for the guinea pigs, they don't get harassed by birds. But yep, so sand is the key. Let me know if you're going to try this and whether it works out for you guys, where you are in the world, and whether your guinea pigs are liking it. Mine seem to like it. It's really soft on their bodies too, you know, it's not as hard and as gnarly as compost, which is quite thick and coarse and quite dense and kind of good for their nails as well. But the sand seems to be doing quite wonders, you know. It's a bit softer, it kind of moves with them and things like this. It's quite cool. But yeah, so if you got any questions, just leave a comment. I know this is a really funny video and I'm totally just videoing outside, but I don't know, it's just as easier that way. But yeah, so if anyone's got any questions about my training or the stuff I use for their ground, the food that they eat, and or what I do in summer and winter, if I haven't already covered that, ask away. And yeah, let me know if you're going to try this or what you have tried that has actually worked brilliantly and not like just because, you know, it's kind of worked, like fabrics and things like this, or certain types of things you can, I don't know, like placemats or something you can remove. You know, if there's any cool ideas like that that's cool, let me know still, because I'm still interested. Although I have already sorted out my baby's ground, I'd still be quite interested to know. And yeah, I will get back to you and whatnot. So Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for 2020, and I will let you guys know how things are going, if I deem so be. So yeah, see you guys all a little later.